Okay, in this section, it's all about forms, and we're going to take a different approach to using forms in Angular. Specifically, we're going to take a look at reactive forms. And while template forms are created using directives in the HTML template, reactive forms use an imperative approach, which means we create the form in our code, and they're created and managed entirely in the component code. And typically they're considered more scalable, more suited for complex and larger apps, more flexible, easier to test, have better type safety, and we get more reusability with reactive forms to manage validation logic. So template forms are good for quick and easy forms, but reactive forms are typically your go-to for anything more complex than just a couple of inputs. Is the general rule on this, and we'll go back to VS Code to start configuring this. And we're going to start inside our register components. Let's open up the register component.ts, and we're going to take out the forms module and replace it with a reactive forms module that we of course get from Angular Forms. And of course this is going to give us some errors in our template, but we'll deal with them as and when we come onto them. So let's take a look at how we're going to do this. And the first thing we need to do is create the form element inside our register component. So we're going to add a property called register form. This is going to be a type of form group that we get from Angular Forms. And this effectively tracks the value and validity state of a group of form control instances. Our inputs are effectively going to be form controls. So we'll use a form group that's going to store form controls, and we're going to set it equal to a new form group. And we need to give this an empty object to start with. And we're also going to implement the onInit, as we're going to need to initialize our form inside this component. So I'm going to implement the onInit function, and then we'll go ahead and create the ng-onInit function. And below this, we'll create a method to initialize form. And then we say list.registerForm equals a new form group. And inside here, we'll open parentheses and then curly brackets. And then we effectively initialize our form controls. What inputs are we going to support inside our form? So we're going to have a username input, and we'll specify this is a type of form control. And we'll have two more, and one's going to be for password, and we're also going to have one for confirm password as well. We will have more, but we'll start with just these few inputs so we can look at the concepts of reactive forms, and then we'll add more as we've got a more reusable way to use our reactive forms. And for the time being, just so we can see what is happening, we'll just comment out the actual register functionality. So I'll add a comment inside there for all of that, and I'm just going to console.log and say list.registerForm.value to get the values of the inputs in the form. And then inside our ng-onInit, to use it, we need to say list.initializeForm. So we're going to have some changes inside our template. So let's open up the register component template. And we no longer use the ng model inside reactive forms. We don't have a two-way binding now. This is a one-way binding going from our component to our template. And inside the register form, we'll replace the ng form, and instead we use a form group inside here, and we're going to set it to the register form. And we'll keep the ng submit, that stays the same, but we don't use ng model, nor do we need the name inside here. And we can replace this with a form control name, and then we just set this to the property, which in this case is going to be the username, and this has to match what we've used inside the name of our form control inside here. So it has to match username in that case. And then I'll just copy this and use it in place of the name and the ng model for the password, and just update that to password. And then I'll copy the password input and paste it below. And for this one, it's still going to be a type of password, but the form control name is going to be confirm password, and the placeholder I'll set to confirm password. So now we have a reactive form. These are the changes we need to make. And if we go and check our browser, what we should find, if I click on register, I've got the placeholder or the label. I need to update that as well. And it's the placeholder in the confirm password, or the label, I should say. So I'm going to say confirm password for that one as well. And let's go back. Let's click on register. Let's just open up the terminal. Make sure we have a functional form. So I'll just add some random text inside these fields. We don't have validation yet, so this will work just fine. And then we can see the values of our 3 different inputs there. So that's the very basics, and what we'll take a look at next is how we can validate these different inputs using reactive forms.